We'll try it anyway. It's about these, at Naimisharamya they didn't have a big screen. Used to just by hearing they could actually decide. Samaha, Priyaha, Surid, Brahman. When you Samak Priya Surit Brahman. Actually, we missed the Sri Raja Uvacha. Samak Priya Suran Brahman. Bhutanam Bhagavan Swayam. Bhutanam Bhagavan Swayam. Indriyasyate Katam Detyam Indrasyate Katam Detyam Avadit Vishama Yata Avadit Vishama Yata Sri Raja Uvacha Samakriya Surit Brahman Bhutanam Bhagavan Swayam Indrasyate Katam Daityam Avadit Vishamo Yata. So I was going to try it.
Shri Rajovacha Samapriya Suhrit Brahman Bhutanam Bhagavan Swayam Indrasyarthe Katham Daityam Avadhit Vishamo Yatha.
Shri Rajovacha Samapriya Surit Brahman Bhutanam Bhagavan Swayam Indrasyate Katam Daityam Avadit Vishamo Yata.
Mataji's.
Shri Rajovacha Samapriya Suhrit Brahman Bhutanam Bhagavan Swayam Indrasyate Katham Daityam Avadit Vishamo Yatha. Shri Rajovacha Samapriya Surit Brahman Bhutanam Bhagavan Swayam Indrasyate Katham Daityam Avadit Vishamo Yatha.
Shri Raja Uvacha Maharaj Parikshit said Samaha equal Priyaha beloved Surit friend Brahman all Brahman Shukadev Bhutanam toward all living entities Bhagavan the Supreme Lord Vishnu Swayam himself Indrasya of Indra Arate of the benefits Katam how Dayānanda the demons Avadit killed Vishamaha Harsha Yata Translation King Parikshit inquired, my dear Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, being everyone's well-wisher, is equal and extremely dear to everyone. How then did he become partial like a common man for the sake of Indra, and thus kill Indra's enemies? How can a person equal to everyone be partial to some, and inimical towards others? In response to this, King Parikshit inquired, my dear Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, being everyone's well-wisher, is equal and extremely dear to everyone. How then did he become partial like a common man? For the sake of Indra, and thus kill Indra's enemies. How can a person equal to everyone be partial to some and inimical towards others? Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swāmi, Srila Prabhupada. In Bhagavad Gita 9:29, the Lord says, Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dvesha stinapriyaha. I am equal to everyone. No one is dear to me, nor is anyone my enemy. In the previous canto, however, it has been observed that the Lord sided with Indra by killing the demons on his account. Atapulkarati Shakrit Arshmi Grahena Vishnu. Therefore, the Lord was clearly partial to Indra, although he is a super soul in everyone's heart. The soul is extremely dear to everyone, and similarly, the super soul is also dear to everyone. Thus there cannot be any fault in action on the part of the super soul. The Lord is always kind to all living entities, irrespective of form and situation. Yet he took the side of Indra just like an ordinary friend. This was the subject of Parikshit Maharaj's inquiry. As a devotee of Lord Krishna, he knew very well that Krishna cannot be partial to anyone. But when he saw that Krishna acted as the enemy of the demons, he was somewhat doubtful. Therefore he posed his question to Shukadeva Swami for a clearer answer. A devotee cannot accept that Lord Vishnu has material qualifications. Lord Parikshit knew perfectly well that Lord Vishnu, being transcendental, has nothing to do with material qualities. But to confirm his conviction, he wanted to hear from the authority, Shukadeva Goswami. Srila Vaishnav Chakravarti therefore says, Samashritam Vishamyam. Since the Lord is equally disposed towards everyone, how can he be partial? Priyasya Katam Ashureshu Priya Abhava. The Lord being the super soul is extremely dear to everyone. Why then should the Lord display unsympathetic behavior towards the Asuras? How is this impartial? Suricha Katam Tesh Asodara. Since the Lord says that he is Suridam Sarvabhutanam, the well-wisher of all living entities, how could he act with partiality by killing demons? These questions arose in the heart of Parikshit Maharaj, and therefore he inquired from Shukadeva Goswami. Homagam to Virandasya Galanjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Ritanjena Kalpana Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami iti Name. Namaste Saraswati Devi Auravani Prajayane Nirvishesha Sanyavadi Prastachari Sami. So in the pastime of Lord Nrsimhadev, it's pretty obvious. Lord Maharaj's qualities and Hiranyakashipu's qualities are completely diametrically opposed. But still, does anybody sometimes think, you know, you just got to be impartial sometimes. Anybody think like that? Be honest. I'll put your hands up. Get them. When something goes wrong, you know, we may externally, I know that's okay, but inside we're thinking, you know, there's something wrong here. And so this is a lack of real faith. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kahe Sujadanischai Krishna Bhakti Sarvakama Kama Kritahari. Real faith means being fully convinced that all I have to do is serve Krishna and everything else will be taken care of. So, to develop that conviction means we have to see Krishna as our friend. Otherwise, we'll always be in doubt. So this is a process of devotional service, gradually developing faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What's that word? Anyway, there's a nice Sanskrit term.
Shraddha?
No, I can't remember. But it says that everybody thinks that everybody else thinks like them.
Atmavan Manyate Jagat.
Yeah, is it? That's right. Everybody thinks everybody else thinks like that. Thinks like them. We've got no option, have we? We can't understand what's happening in other people's minds. And so if we've got a badly conditioned mind, and you know, we're not pure, we'll superimpose that on Krishna. Automatically we'll think like that. But as we become purified by the process of devotional service, we'll actually start to appreciate how pure Krishna is. Now he has no friends or enemies. And why? Because he's not conditioned by the material world. We see differences only because we're conditioned. If we've got any hatred for anybody or we favour people, it means we're conditioned. It means we're seeing, this is my friend, this is my enemy, this is a favourable condition, this is an unfavourable condition. There's no unfavourable and favourable conditions. You know that. Although it seems so, that's due to our misunderstanding, our lack of faith, our lack of understanding Krishna. So we have to understand that Krishna is beyond the modes of nature, and we are acting within the modes of nature. And when we act within the modes of nature, we'll see according to our conditioning. When we're above the modes of nature, we'll see on the pure platform, all we'll see is Krishna, nothing else, and Bhagavan, of course, and devotional service. And whatever else happens, it's not really important. Whether somebody's serving better than us, or whether we're serving better than somebody else, it doesn't really matter anymore. We're just serving Krishna. And we're satisfied completely with that service. But now we might see that, you know, on differences. So that means we're not actually on that platform yet. So, Parikshit Maharaj is asking this. He's a pure devotee, but he is asking for the benefit of everybody else. So that we can understand, you know, or we can hear again about Krishna's qualities. When we keep hearing, eventually, ding, you know, the penny drops. We actually understand. It becomes. And so then he started, you know, when we tell a story, you know, usually we give an analogy, right? Because it's difficult, you know, we're not philosophers generally. We usually like a nice story, right? When we hear a story, then if the philosophy is in that story, it's like giving you a sweet, like when you go to the dentist, they'll give you a sweet. So a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, right? Does anybody remember that record?
Mary Poppins.
Yeah, he knows. what we were talking about now. What was it? This is a difficult one when we get diverted. But anyway, so we were telling that this is it. So he gave an analogy. He told a story actually. He told a story of Shishupal. You know, Shishupal was, at least ostensibly, he was a demon. And he would just blaspheme Krishna every day. That's what really fired him up. 99 times a day. And Krishna, to task for you wasn't bothered him. He said, if he does 100, I love him. And that's what happened, He got so fired up that he went over, and Krishna immediately, he took his head off, he decapitated him. And then, to everybody's astonishment, a big white light came out of Shishupal's body and went emerged into Krishna's body. So that means he got liberation. He was liberated from all material suffering. And everything. How did that rascal get that benediction? So, Parikshit Maharaj, he told by Shukadeva Swami that that's how kind Krishna is. And so Parikshit Maharaj was still bewildered, how this. So the story goes over then towards where Yudhishthira Maharaj sees this, and so he asks Narada Muni, what happened here? How did he get that benediction? And Narada Muni starts going to the history then. He says, well, what we see, Shishupal is actually an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we all are. We're eternal servants of Krishna, but we forgot that side. And so, it's sort of telling the story of Jayam Vijay, the four Kumaras. They've been blocked from going to Vaikuntha. And the two doorkeepers, Jaya and Vijay, were the ones who blocked them. They were the gatekeepers. And there was a purpose behind it. It wasn't that they were inimical. It was just that they were playing a part. And so then when there was a commotion at the gates of Vaikuntha, it's not usually a commotion. But then Lord Vishnu came. And then the four Kumaras, they were impersonalists. But they heard about Lord Vishnu, so they thought, let's go and see Lord Vishnu. That's how powerful they were. They could go to Vaikuntha. And so when Lord Vishnu appeared, even before he came inside, what happened? Remember? They started smelling, and they smelled the tulsi, which was on Lord Vishnu's big toe. And that completely blew their mind, as he said. It completely purified their mind. And they became personalists, became pure devotees. So Lord Vishnu, he said to the four Kumaras, he says, any one of my servants, if they do something wrong, he says, I take it that I've done it wrong. He said, if you want, I'll lop off my arm for the harm that they've done. And the Kumaras, they couldn't believe how compassionate Lord Vishnu was for his own servants. And so he said, so the Kumaras had already cursed them to go to the material world. Or 6 verse of it as demons. Or 7 verse, I'm not sure which, but then he gave them the alternative, you can go as devotees, or 3 verse as demons, that's right. And so, Jai and Vijay, they thought, well, we'll go for 3 verse, we won't be away so long then. And so one of the verse was as Danta Vakra and Shishupala. What was the first one? It was Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. So So then he started relating the story of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. And that's how we get into the Nrsimhadev pastime, the history behind the disappearance. And so in the next chapter, Hiranyakashipu had a brother called Hiranyaksha. Hiranyaksha was terrorizing the universe. And so the demigods complained, and that's when Lord Varaha appeared. That's a fourth incarnation of the Supreme Lord. And when Lord Varaha appeared, he killed Hiranyaksha. And Hiranyakashipu and all the family were lamenting like anything. And so he performed the last rites for Hiranyaksha. And then Rishabhanu, the wife of Hiranyaksha and mother-in-law, Diti, demigod, the mother of the demigods, or some mother of the demons, they were particularly upset. And so he started to preach to them. You know, demons of bygone ages, they weren't like they are now. You know, what demons? Anybody name any demons now? Well, be honest. I mean, yeah, what was that? Oh, yeah. I still can't hear.
They're saying Donald Trump, Maharaj.
Oh, Donald Trump.
Psychotic key is the top one.
Yeah, they're all demons. They're all actually, on the platform of the body, thinking that I'm American, I'm a Russian, and it's creating so many problems for so many people. And behind them, there's some more demons who manipulating everything. You know that? Yeah, they're not the leaders. The ones with the money are the leaders. The ones who are financing everything. The so-called leaders like puppets. But we don't want to get into all that noise today anyway. So, yes, so the Hiranyakashipu was very, very learned. That's how he got his, that's part of the reason why he was so powerful. He understood the Vedas, but he didn't understand the conclusion of the Vedas. And he performed Kasi, which we'll hear about in a little while. And so he started to preach to his mother-in-law and his sister-in-law. And he started relating a nice story about one king who died and all the queens were lamenting. And so Yamaraj heard them lamenting. And so when he heard that, he came from the lower regions, from the hellish planets, to see what was happening. And he came as a little boy. And when he saw all these queens, they wouldn't let them take the body away for cremation. He'd asked them a question. A little boy can go anywhere, you know. So he came and started asking the queen, what's the matter? And he says, our husband is dead. And then he started relating another story about two pigeons. Anyway, we'll not go into the whole story. We've got to go on. We've got to move on a little bit. And from that, they could understand, the soul's eternal, the body's temporary, and they became relieved from all lamentation. That's powerful preaching, isn't it? If somebody in that condition, and Hiranyakashipu was so potent that he preached to them and they became free from all lamentation. Can you imagine? He wasn't an ordinary person. But then, he was learned, but learning's nothing. If learning doesn't do, what's learning supposed to do? What is learning supposed to do?
Give you more intelligence?
Eh?
Give more intelligence?
give more intelligence, but Donald Trump, you know, he's not millions. Putin, he's not well, he's pretty well up as well. He owns all the gas in Russia. Well, they're very intelligent, but it's something more than that. Knowledge.
Truth.
Eh?
Truth, knowledge.
So what's truth?
Krishna.
Krishna.
Is it to know the difference between what's right and what's wrong?
Knowledge means to know the difference between right and wrong. It's, yeah, these things are true, but it's supposed to soften the heart. You know what I mean? When we realise the truth, that truth is supposed to make us, you know, realise, what am I doing? I have to change. And then we take up a process where we can change, which is devotional service. That's what real knowledge brings. It brings, you know, realisation. And we sort of become situated, you know, in our real nature instead of our, you know, our external covering. There's one devotee at Soro Street. Well, Mataji actually, she was in Sankirtan, and she started to go and she started to argue and really push another devotee, you know what I mean? She got a little bit angry. And the temple president came and he said, and he started to, you know, try to correct the situation. And then she said, oh, I'm so sorry. She says, my real nature came through, you know what I mean? In other words, the conditioned nature. We're all holding it back, aren't we? You know, it's there. We have to keep it down. And so she was thinking like that, and he said, no, that's not your real nature. He said, your real nature is you're a soft-hearted devotee. And that, you know, when she realised that, it changed her all the way, whole perception. That's the way you must see it. This is somebody who's becoming soft-hearted themselves. They come and see on that platform. We don't see faults in others. We learn to see faults in ourselves. But Hiranyakashipu wasn't like that. Their knowledge was just superficially, it hadn't changed the heart. And so he started to perform more tapasya. It's tapasya to get up in the morning, to rise early, yeah? To rise early, chant your rounds, follow 4 executive principles. So many things we have to do in it. It's like a real tapasya sometimes, what do you think? Is it? It depends how advanced we are. If we're advanced, it's not as tapasya, but maybe we're not so advanced. Well, what about Hiranyakashipu? What about his tapasya? If we want to be encouraged to do tapasya, just listen to what Hiranyakashipu had to do. You're not going to get up. No, you stand on one leg, right? Stand on one leg and put your arms in there and stay like that. You're not resting on anything else for 100 celestial years. That's 3,600 years. What about that? Now that's what I call tapasya. He did that, and it became so powerful that there were flames shooting out of his head. And these flames, they heated the whole universe up. The demigods, they were like, what's going on? So they went to Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma said, I know something there. It's one of my devotees. It was a devotee of Lord Brahma. So it just shows how we can be devotee of a devotee and not a devotee. You see? And so Lord Brahma, and he couldn't see him. He couldn't find Hiranyakashipu anywhere. He knew that he coming from somewhere, and then he saw this big anthill. And that's where he is. And so they removed the ants, and they just about eaten Hiranyakashi's body away. They were only it was just about all bones. And they were keeping the life force in those bones. And so Lord Brahma said to him, he said, I'm very pleased with your austerity. And he asked, please ask me for a benediction. And he said at that point, can you imagine, Hiranyakashipu, he was shaking in ecstasy. So we can be in ecstasy for the wrong reason. It's not necessarily, you know what I mean? We see it every Saturday afternoon, don't we? Especially just down the road here. Yeah? Not so often, actually. Anyway, so he was shaking in ecstasy. We don't feel pleasure in the material world, but it's for the wrong reason. And it's just like a little blip. Yeah? Because we're Suridam Sarvabhutanam, we're searching for pleasure. Not Suridam Sarvabhutanam, Anandamaya, we're an Anandamaya, Vyasa. And so Hiranyakashipu, he got what he wanted. And we all know he said, I want the benediction of being eternal. And Lord Brahma said, well, you have to go somewhere else for that one, because I'm not eternal. He said, but I can give you as much benediction as I can give. And so he started asking for things which, you know, I don't want to be killed. What was the things that really didn't want to be killed?
Inside or outside?
Inside and outside. Darkness and light.
By nothing living or nothing dead?
Nothing living, nothing. That goes quite a bit, doesn't it? Anything else? By anything the other one? Not by a man or animal. Yeah, any living entity, in other words. He was smart, wasn't he? He was smarter than Ravan. Ravan wasn't as smart as him. Any others?
Not on the ground or in the air.
In the ground or in the air. So, you know, that seems impossible to, you know, he's covered everything. But Krishna's really smart. He managed to fulfill all those conditions and still he was able to kill him. So then, you know, Hiranyakashipu, when he got that benediction, he just persecuted everybody. And at that time, while he was away on austerities, his wife Kayadu was pregnant. And so at that time the demigods thought, we don't want another Hiranyakashipu. They thought in the womb of that Kayadu will be another one. And so they kidnapped Kayadu, and when they were taken away, Narada Muni came. He said, where are you going? What are you doing with this young lady? He said, we're waiting for the child to be born. It's Hiranyakashipu's son. He'll be a demon. And then we're going to kill him when he's born. And Namo says, no, he's not. He's actually a devotee. He said, I'll take care of him. So then we got handed him over, and he preached to Kayadu. And Kayadu, she couldn't actually handle it. You know, she was very difficult for us to understand. We're in the womb. You know, Prahlad Maharaj understood everything. And when he actually was born, he became a pure devotee immediately. And so this was a situation that now Hiranyakashipu is heir to the throne to carry on the demoniac dynasty. He's a devotee. Sandra and Marka, his teachers, they're actually, you know, they're thinking they're having a good impression on all the children. And when Hiranyakashipu, you know, PTA, Parent Teacher Association, you know, he called it, he said, bring my son Prahlad, let's see how he's doing. And see how he's doing very well. What's the best thing you've learned, my dear boy? First of all, you know, he put him on his lap, and, you know, Prahlad Maharaj paid dandavats to his father. You can imagine how his father felt. Tears started to flow from his eyes. You know, his heart melted for some time, choked up. He sat him on his lap, and he was bathing at, you know, Prahlad Maharaj with his tears. I mean, that's affection, isn't it? You don't mind how many people doing that, do you? So, and then he asked him, he said, what's the best thing you've learned today, my dear boy? He said, the best thing I've learned, what did he say? He said that as far as I have learned from my spiritual master, he wasn't speculating. As far as I've learned from my spiritual master, everybody who's material attached, they should leave their position and go to the forest. Or better, they should go to Vrindavan. And there they should surrender to Lord Vishnu. So when Hiranyakashipu, he was completely shocked. Vishnu was the arch enemy of Hiranyakashipu. So he looked at Sandra and Mark, he said, what's happened here? You have to protect this boy, he's been contaminated. Guard him very nicely. And so they took him away again and started learning about politics, about, friends and enemies. And then they brought him back, sat him on his lap again, and he asked him the best thing he'd learned. And what did he say this time? What did he say? He said, the best thing I've learnt is Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. The 9 processes of devotional service. So anybody who's practiced any of these 9 processes have achieved complete knowledge. And so Hiranyakashipu looked at Sandanamaka and he said, it's not us. He's a natural devotee. And not only that, half the classes are actually devotees as well now. He'd been preaching so heavily. Actually, that came a bit later. And so Hiranyakashipu, when it did come at that time actually, when he realised they were all becoming devotees, that's when he actually sent his cohorts, all his friends, all his followers, to try and kill him in so many ways. And can you remember which way they tried to kill?
Throw him under a herd of wild elephants.
Yeah.
Burn him?
What?
Burned by fire?
Burnt by fire.
They didn't burn?
Yeah, they tried everything. They threw him off a mountain.
Threw him into a pit of snakes.
Put him in a pit of snakes.
Gave him
Tried
poison.
to crush him with rocks.
Yeah, poison.
Tried to poison him. Tried to run him through with spears. I mean, we hear about these things and we don't think twice about it, but these are pretty heavy things to do. Very nice, And so, eventually, Hiranyakashipu understood, I have to deal with Prahlad myself. And so that's when he took out his sword. Let's see where your Vishnu is now. Traitor to the demon race. And so he was blaspheming Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj was just offering prayers to his father. And he said, so Lord Vishnu, he said, where do you realise that this boy is completely fearless. Everybody in the universe is actually shaking. I just have to raise an eyebrow. And all the demigods would tremble in fear. But this boy, I've just tried to kill him in so many ways, and he's not fazed by any of it. This is the position of devotional service, actually. Pure devotee is not affected by the external energy at all. Narayana Parvasave, Nakatushka, Avibhite, Svarga Apavarga. Narakeshu, Apituleshu Ratnam. Svarga, heavenly planets. Apavarga, liberation. Narakeshu, the hellish planets. He doesn't care which planet he's on, as long as he has service to Lord Vishnu, service to Lord Krishna. If he has that service, then he's completely satisfied. This is how satisfying devotional service can be. It may be not that everything is the way we want it, but because we're actually satisfying somebody who we love, we'll do it. Is there any examples in the spiritual, in the material world?
Of like covering up for someone that you love.
Yeah, you'll do something for somebody. Even though you wouldn't ordinarily do it.
Well, like let's say a mum has a son that's a criminal, and maybe she knows that he's committed some crimes, but she wouldn't tell the police to protect her son.
Maybe that's true, yeah. I know one devotee's father, he was heartbroken that his son had left, and he travelled to India actually. And he wrote back after about 6 months, and then his father wrote back to him, and he said, "It doesn't matter what you've done, son, I'm always there for you." He's always there for us. It's just like a, young child. When they're young, they're just born, you have to look after them in so many ways, don't you, And we don't, about cleaning the bottom when they have a mishap, you know what I mean? It's nothing. But we wouldn't usually do that, but that bond is so strong. And so we can just imagine how strong that bond is to Krishna. That he's the source of all this affection. So how attractive is Krishna, And so Prahlad Maharaj was on that platform. Eventually the battle took place. What did he say? What did he say in response to when Hiranyakashipu asked that question? Where do you get your power from?
Sorry.
See, you can't say no. What did he say?
Same source.
He said?
He said same source you get.
Same source, yeah. Same source as you get yours from. And then he really became angry then. When he understood he was actually glorifying Lord Vishnu. And is he in his pillar? And Prahlad Maharaj looked and said, yeah, he's in the pillar. So he hit the pillar. And then this rumbling. This big rumbling noise came out of the pillar. And then the floor started to crack and the pillar burst open, and then the Shringadev came out, half man, half lion. And Hiranyakashipu, he was trying to analyse, who is this? It's not something I've ever recognised before. He knew all the demigods and all the different living entities, their qualification and their symptoms, but he couldn't work out this particular form of the Lord. But then he thought, never mind, who can kill me? No, he was so confident. But also he was frightened. He said he flew at Lord Vishnu. Have you seen that picture in the Bhagavatam? He's flying at Lord Vishnu with his raised scimitar. And he said he was closing his eyes, he was frightened. And Lord Nrsimhadev was, making a shrilling noise. And so this battle went on. And after some time, Lord Nrsimhadev caught Hiranyakashipu. And all the demigods, yeah, behind the clouds they were cheering. And Hiranyakashipu was like trying to get free. And then Lord Nrsimhadev let him go. Then all the demigods, whoops, they went back behind the clouds. And Lord, why did he do that? I know you know. Why did he do that? What now?
I don't know why he went behind the clouds, to be honest.
No, he let him go.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, it's described like a cat sometimes plays with its
Yeah.
prey. It lets the mouse go, but it's really just the cat playing with it. The cat can kill it any time it's kind of playing with its food.
Yeah, they're very cruel, aren't they? And so in this world we see that, you know, we mentioned some demons at the beginning of this class. They seem to be flourishing and they seem to be, you know, successful in what they're doing, which is contrary to what Shastra says. But it's just a little, it's like the Lord's not acting straight away. He doesn't act straight away. He lets them enjoy, because that's what they want. Okay, you can enjoy that way. But then, eventually, they're actually vanquished. And so this was happening. Hiranyakashipu, he became very confident that this form of whoever it is, he can't keep me. I'm actually more powerful than him. And so he starts to fight with more virility. But then eventually the Lord Nrsimhadev placed him on his lap. It was, where was it? In the doorway. He was on his knees, it wasn't on the air or in the killing with his nails, which were, they're not dead, are they? But they're not alive. What was that?
I'm sorry, I was saying in evening time it's twilight.
Yeah, twilight, she was saying it was like the twilight.
It was twilight, so it wasn't day, it wasn't night.
Not day or night.
Yeah. So he fulfilled all these different conditions and he still killed Hiranyakashipu. And then he was actually so angry that he couldn't even be pacified even after he'd done that. He sat on the throne and he was just like still so angry when Nrsimhadev. And all the demigods and Lord Brahma, they'd never seen this. Even Lakshmi Devi was completely shocked. She didn't even go near him. And they were all offering prayers from a distance. Who was it first? Lakshmi Devi, then Brahma, then Shiva, then Indra, different demigods. And it still didn't pacify Lord Nrsimhadev. And then Lord Brahma started pushing Lord Maharaj for, little boy. And he went straight up to Lord Nrsimhadev and as immediately as Lord Nrsimhadev saw him, he picked him up for him on his lap. He got full faith that the Lord's he doesn't become angry, he doesn't become indifferent to anybody, he's always reciprocal, that's the word. He reciprocates in kind. Actually, he reciprocates in more than kind. So this is the answer to whether the Lord is actually partial to anybody or impartial. Yeah, he just reciprocates because of what we reciprocate with him. Yeah? And then Prahlad Maharaj, he was so happy with him. He said, what do you please ask from me a benediction. What did Lord Prahlad Maharaj ask for?
Liberation for 7 generations.
He said what?
Liberation for his, like he said, he didn't want his father to be punished, and so Nrsimhadev gave him liberation for the 7 generations before and after.
Yeah, he didn't want his father. He said, forgive my father and deliver him. So that shows that the pure devotee has no animosity towards anybody. He becomes the same in quality as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore is able to reciprocate in kind with the Lord on a spiritual basis. So, actually, Prahlad Maharaj is a very exalted devotee. If you want to understand the qualities of a pure devotee, you just keep reading this pastime. We may not be able to come to that platform, but we should aspire, that's the thing. If Krishna sees us aspiring, he'll make up all the difference. It says like Bhagavad Gita, doesn't it? Ananyas chintyantam mam yeganaha parupasate Tesham Nitya Bhutanam Yoga Kshamam Dhanyam. We've tried to serve Krishna with love, with some, then Krishna will reciprocate with that, and he'll make all the difference. So we may be finding sometimes it's a struggle in devotional service to overcome our conditioning. But we just have to pray to Krishna's help, that's all. And if we do that sincerely, Krishna will actually give us all encouragement and opportunity to overcome our problems. Okay, any questions or comments? We've gone, we started a little bit late, so it's okay.
We can have a couple of minutes for questions, and then we better stop.
Yeah.
In which yuga it was Satya Yuga.
What's that?
What yuga did he appear?
Satya Yuga.
What?
What yuga did Lord Nrsimhadev appear?
What
What yuga did he appear?
Satyuga, I think, right?
Satya Yuga.
Yeah, he appeared in Satyuga. What was the incarnation for this yoga?
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Any advances on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
The holy name.
The holy name. Might it go Kalinam Rupe Krishna Avatar. The holy name is the incarnation of the Lord. The name is not different. Vinatvam Naminamino. Vinatvam Naminamino. There's no difference between when we chant the holy name, then Krishna's there. He's in that holy name. And part of the advancement is to become so focused and so sincere in our chanting that we appreciate that the holy name is Krishna. So that's what we're actually trying to develop, that level of pure chanting. Anything else? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shridev Bhagavan ki jai. Bala Maharaj ki jai. Oh, Lakshminanda.
Haribol. His Holiness Dayānanda Maharaj ki.